The last thing I want to talk about is Putnam's discussion of what he calls the division of linguistic labour. And this is more specifically applied to things like the elm and the beech case. So the moral of the elm and the beech case seems really quite extreme. Because in the case of water, we know some of the identifying features of water. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, it's not only water that has them. Maybe we can imagine things like XYZ that also looks exactly to us like it's water. But the elm and the beech case isn't like that, because in the elm and the beech case, really we don't have even anything close to a reliable criterion for identifying elms and beeches, and yet still arguably know the meanings of the words elm and beech. So if that case is right, sometimes it looks like you don't really need anything that resembles a criterion in order to know the meaning of a word. But that is kind of mysterious. The question is, well, how do I get to count as knowing the meaning of the word if I know so little about elms and beeches? Why am I able to know that? How is that possible if I really don't know what an elm is, or at least not enough to distinguish it from a beech? And Putnam's answer is that the reason why we're able to count as knowing these things, even when we know so little, is because there are other people in the same population as us who speak the same language, who are able to do these things, who are able to, for instance, distinguish elms from beeches. In general, Putnam hypothesizes that there are some terms, like elms and beeches, where our ability to use them is heavily dependent on the fact that there are other people out there in the population, experts who are able to distinguish between them. So, for instance, there are people who are experts on trees, who know lots more about elms and beeches than we do, who are easily able to distinguish them and to distinguish them from all manner of trees. Those people are experts, will say, about what an elm is and what a beech is. Putnam's idea is that so long as there are people like that out there, that's going to be enough for us to be able to master the word. Our mastery of the word sort of does not require that we be able to have a criterion that distinguishes elms from beeches. It just requires that there be somebody out there with a criterion like that. So as long as there are experts out there who can do it, that's enough for us, even us, the non-experts, to be able to know the meanings of the terms. And if you think about it, that does kind of seem plausible. If there really just was nobody who could distinguish an elm from a beech in the first place, then it really would be kind of a mystery how the word elm picks out an elm and how the word beech picks out a beech. If nobody knew anything about what those words meant, it would be hard to see how they would get any meaning at all. What Putnam thinks is a mistake is to move from the idea that if nobody knew the meaning, it would be mysterious how these words meant what they do. It's a mistake to move from that to thinking that everybody must know. Everybody must have sort of expert level knowledge, or even a reliable way of distinguishing between these things to count as knowing what the word means. Really, all that it requires is that some people know it. To avoid the absurd situation where we go around speaking a language that means things even though we have no way of telling what they mean, the way to avoid that absurd situation is simply to posit that there are some people, the experts, who know what's going on. And Putnam thinks that's not just an accident about a particular community. He thinks it's going to be just a general fact about language use universally, that there are always going to be terms like these. There are always going to be terms whose ability to refer to particular objects in the world is dependent on the existence of experts out there who are able to distinguish them, and not on every individual person being able to do the distinguishing for themselves. This is what he calls his hypothesis of the universality of the division of linguistic labour.